Here's your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, the franchise guide.
Number 4, which is something I see happening not all the time. It really depends on the individual itself. And this is straying away from the system. This is something you should avoid doing, a typical rookie mistake, and straying away from the system. Well, why the heck would anyone do that? And sometimes it's just you're in it. You're in the day-to-day. You're running the business, and you feel as if the business model could be run differently. Or maybe you saw an opportunity to make a few extra bucks, adding an additional revenue stream. And by doing that, I always say there's an opportunity cost for just about anything we do. So if you are straying away from the system, if you are looking at other things, other businesses or additional ways of making money, I'm not saying this is negative, but especially that first year, if you start getting distracted, yes, you will maybe increase some revenue streams, but what is that pulling you away from? That's the thing to always kind of think about. So if you're providing that additional revenue or getting that additional revenue stream, what are you pulling away from? So maybe that's your core business and you're in the painting space, but now you're, something not offered is refinishing hardwood floors. I'm just making this up. That's great and all, but how is that pulling you away from your bread and butter? Franchisor won't be able to support you, obviously, if that's not a service that they offer. So I'm talking specifically something outside the scope and the range. So it'll be a distraction. It'll be, yes, an additional revenue stream, but it'll pull you away. So what are you losing in the process? So it is always tempting. I always say, jot those down and talk to your coach. Say, hey, I think I can upsell and offer hardwood floor resurfacing, staining, restoration, whatever the heck it is. And finding out what they think, maybe talking to some other franchisees to something that maybe that's an add-on down the road, a couple of years down the road. Maybe it's a franchise add-on, whatever the case may be. It allows you to say, write it down, put together kind of a plan. Okay, in 24 months, we're going to start adding some additional services or adding another franchise to this enterprise of kind of being able to offer the homeowner or the commercial property multiple kind of a one-stop shop, which is super attractive in that, the homeowner can really use you just about for everything. But, going back to our previous episode, many of the franchisors have talked about riches and niches and how do you scale down the service and do a really good job. And we talked about the idea of marketing. When you offer 20 different services, it is very hard to effectively market across the system, buying search terms and, kind of owning that space. Whereas if you offer one streamline, painting service and epoxy flooring, and that's it. Keeps it simple, easier to buy the keywords and track and follow that data and increase conversions. Things to think about when it gets really tempted that first year, especially when the finances are tight. Maybe it's taking a little bit longer to launch the business. It gets tempting. I know for my case, it was the same deal, kept adding additional services. And by the way, sometimes we work with companies that offer and they have 10 revenue streams, but they'll come back and say, we want you to focus on these top 2 streams and we want you to work and focus on residential. Why? Smaller jobs, less issues with payment. You typically get paid half upfront, half on completion or whatever that looks like, but they're smaller jobs. So if mistakes are made, you can learn from there before tackling some of the larger jobs, or maybe it's a government municipality job where the payment terms are not going to be as favorable, if anything, up front and pay within 30 to 60 days. Or if it's related to insurance, now you're getting paid, again, 30 to 60 days out. You want to be able to provide a service, pay the crews, compensate the subcontractors, whoever's involved in the process. And that goes back to not straying away from the system. It goes back to, having the extra cash reserves. How do you do that? Well, don't overpay yourself. So these kind of all work together. And there's a lot more than these 5. We're going to talk about 5 mistakes franchisees make later on, not just their rookie year.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn how to make the transition from corporate to owning your franchise, join Giuseppe on the next episode. You can also follow on all social media platforms and achieve financial and time freedom today.